we grew up, it was predominantly white. The only places I could really identify with other black people was within my own home. Mom, dad, and brothers, that was it. So it was a little difficult because you stick out. I had my dad, I had other figures, and then it wasn't until I saw characters like Muhammad Ali just showing what it looks like to be so proud and comfortable in your own skin. That was when I said, wait a second, it's cool to look the way I do. Everybody recognized me as a black guy. There are so few black people in the sport. There's a high lack of diversity. I did working with the school, getting them involved, kind of introducing the sport to them. What I've done in the US with my old high school, I can do it in Ghana. African man up in a white land. I travel the world, I've been on white sand. Anything you want to do, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whether it's academics, anything in life, you have to stay consistent with it. It's not gonna become easier, but you become better. Be someone to go from always losing to now leading the races.
So in what way did you engage and involve the local Ghanaian communities in the promotion and development of water polo? Because I take it they had no idea
Zero,
what water
forget
polo
it,
was.
done, nothing,
Yeah.
zero. I think there may have been some like attempts, initiatives, like one scheduled clinic or a PowerPoint day where they get officials in, but I don't think it took off from there. And my personal journey was, okay, let's just start from the top. Let's reach out to the people in charge of swimming in the country. Hello, my name is Asante. I'm an athlete, blah, blah, blah. I would love to come by and do this. Then it was meeting them, then getting introduced to the school that has a pool. One of the only schools at the time, I think, that had a little pool, or maybe it was just a brand new pool. They take me to this school, and that was the first group that I was working with. And a school in the central region, free school. You just show up and you get your attendance, and people from that area, you know, it's a rural area.
Okay.
So working with them was cool because they said, wait a second, there's a really cool thing that we can be a part of. Brand new pool, they didn't know anything about it. It was brand new. And then going back, I would go to that same school. I would talk to the coach and you'd get the local kids in the village saying, hey, free swim lessons, come by, try it out. And then that's kind of how it would grow. And the students would come into and they would grow. Then when I made this decision in 2021 to be here and build something, that was when it was like, let's get to the communities that live by the water and, you know, just bring a ball. And first they're going to use it as a football. They're going to kick it around. Then they're going to play volleyball with it. And then you say, no, it's not, no, you don't do it like this. And it's showing them just one hand, making it very simple. And then they get the one hand throwing. Okay, cool, now we go swim. What? Swimming?
No.
Yeah, and then me going into the water to swim is what got them excited. Because here's this guy looking like us, this Rasta man swimming with the ball and throwing it. Wow, you can score goals in the water now? Okay, cool. And that was really what it was, just going to different areas, you know, Accra, Kumasi, Eastern region, and just setting up shop, bringing 2 goals, bringing the equipment, and just having small pickup games. And I think one thing Africans love, everybody loves in our community, we love inclusion, to be included. These people they had no idea how to play the game. Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. As if they've been playing for 50 years.
They were enjoying themselves.
Oh man, so much enjoyment, you know? And then you have bystanders who have never seen a game before. Now they're critiquing, like they're an analyst for the game. It's like, relax. You're not like, but you that's the enthusiasm you want. Exactly. Especially with something so new. So to me, going to the communities was big because I wanted to make the impact where it was similar to football. You can just bring a ball and go to a field of grass and play. And a lot of the countries that do dominate the sport, Eastern European countries, they set up their games out in the lakes and the rivers. So I said, let me just do the same thing here. Africa's already just surrounded and immersed with water bodies.
Could you tell us more about the mission and goals of Black Star Polo and how it aims to connect the diaspora through aquatics?
My biggest goal for Black Star Polo is really just to create this environment for aquatic inclusion and aquatic growth for people in the continent, throughout the diaspora, to just have this awakening of, I don't want to use the word entitlement, but this awakening that, hey, we can also utilize these aquatic spaces that have been historically removed from us and still be able to not just participate, but to compete, you know, not just take part, but also take over, you know? I have my goal, my personal goal is to use Black Star Polo as a vehicle to, you know, create an Olympic team for Ghana, a national team for an African country. But that's really just tip of the iceberg. That's really the small pieces because it's more when you create this inclusion, when you create these opportunities for people who have never had them before, it's a life-changing thing that you're doing. You're allowing them that, hey, there is a space prepared for you. You may have heard no in every other area of your life. This is a place where you can, you know, feel accepted and welcomed. And then also challenged. And then you learn that when you persevere through your challenges, you will get rewarded. You know, this past year with Black Star Polo, we were able to get birth certificates and passports for some of our younger kids who come from really just underserved areas, very poor areas. And that was already a huge milestone because to their community, the idea of documentation and knowing when they were born and knowing, why would I need a passport? Why do I need to know when my father passed away? Those things are completely foreign. And then now seeing that mindset shift to why do I need this to now I have this, now I can travel. Like now I have an idea, now I know when my birthday is, now I know my government and that, it's already opening up their worlds, their minds to, you know, a different part of life they've probably never had before. You know, we just want to get more inclusion in the sport, more diversity in the game, and get more people in the water safely.
How do you see water polo as a means for fostering community and creating opportunities for individuals, particularly within Africa?
What I found out is water polo has just become another word for community, because every time we have one of these games, they come with the drums.
Everybody's out.
They come with the food.
Wow.
They come with the chants. They come with the songs. You know, some of the kids, their first words are it's now. And it's very important to bring this up, that it's such a word for community in not just Ghana and Africa. It's no longer water polo. Wata polo. Wata polo. Wata polo. That's what the kids, some of them even their first word. And some people, their idea of swimming is water polo. Like to the kid, hey, can we go do water polo today? It means can we go to the pool and swim?
And swim.
You know? So I think that is so important because that's what keeps it alive. That's what makes it timeless, is making it a community effort, making it something that people can, you know, go to. The same way you see these massive crowds for the World Cup and these huge shows.
What challenges have you faced in launching and growing Black Star Polo, and how have you overcome them?
Many challenges. I think the biggest one has been navigating through the culture shock that exists. Being a part of two different worlds, two different communities, two different lifestyles, Western and Africa, you know. I remember the first time coming back home after like being there for an extended amount of time. It was really difficult to adjust back into my hometown, my room, my home, just the same.
Everything's different.
Everything, man. It was so challenging. Just because you see, it's just like somebody pulled the curtains. You learn how you have to just unlearn everything you were brought up with, and you see such a bigger perspective, and really having to have the patience and understanding that some people are not acting out as a personal attack, but also just based on what they know, and you can't really criticize too many people. There's a funny story. Someone was like, hey, I'm saying, hey, I'm gonna go to Africa. I said, oh, how are you gonna get there? Take a plane. Oh, wow, that's strange. Well, where are you gonna stay? Probably a hotel and apartment. Hotels and apartments, really? Well, how are you gonna get around? Taxi, Uber. Ubers in Africa. Wow.
No.
And then I wanna get so mad at these people, but then it's like, okay, no, relax. It's just the fact that it's not you, it's the curriculum, it's the institutions.
Exactly.
In the movies, what they show of Africa is incredibly accurate, right? Lions, tigers, and bears running around and huts and everything. That's just what people know, just naturally. So having a lot of patience of like, okay, it's not your fault. The ignorance is not your fault. And, you know, just understanding different cultures and understanding, you know, even just me.
But we can't leave it alone and say it's not your fault. It is their fault.
For not,
they have to, for not
indulging into
exactly.
Yeah.
For not looking further. For believing that we live on trees.
You're
for
right.
believing that we have all these things that they say that we are. You know what I mean? Unless you take over and you decide, I'm gonna have to find out for myself, like what's going on currently, actually.
Correct. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct.
And maybe it's because technology is so much out there currently, and it's easier for people to just check, just put in a country and you learn.
Yeah, so, that's very true, because we have the access to find out how life is in Africa. Simple.
So many things. Even fake news now we're trying,
You're right. Completely right.
My next question, and I think we need to ask what POC communities are before I get into the question.
Yeah, people of color, POC.
Okay. How do you believe? Now, I had to look it up to find out, but then within the question, I was like, other people might not know what POC is.
Right.
The fact that it's even called POC in itself is another question.
Right.
Okay.
That was something that I even found out myself.
That's crazy.
While it started, first starting this off again as not a volunteer, but as hey, I'm going to go to Africa and make this thing. And then we fundraise. And then it becomes, wow, this great fundraising idea. Now let's make it into a nonprofit. And then, okay, well, great. You want to make it a nonprofit, you have to get a mission statement. Who are you helping? Be clear about this. What's your vision? What's your about us? Da-da-da-da. And then me, I know the impact I want to make. I know who I want to help. But also now I have to find out so many different ways to translate that, Because I can say, I'm trying to get black people in the water. And then some people feel a certain way about that. So, okay, let me go back and figure out the right way to say it. Okay, I want to help, brown people. It's like, what do you mean brown people? It's okay, all right. People of color, Meanwhile, we know the on the spectrum of color who has been historically, below. It's interesting how you have to be so clear.
So how do you believe the history of trauma and exclusion in aquatics and water bodies has affected people of color communities? And what steps do you hope to take to address these issues through your work with Black Star Polo? Now you know why we had to know what POC was, right?
Right. In our communities, I feel safe enough to say that. And even in African communities and Black American communities and the communities where there are people of color, it is very common to have a story about somebody drowning. Somebody going to a lake, someone going to a beach, even somebody going to a pool, or a toddler drowning, All just, no matter how it happens, the fact that you have a close experience to an event of drowning is traumatic. Whether it be from remnants or nightmares of the slave trade, whether it be from just watching a kid stumble into water, whether it be, somebody thinking they're in the shallow end or they're in the deep side, whether it be just, in a house and they can't escape. Just the fact of drowning is traumatic all across the board. And the fact that so many people, specifically in our communities, have more of those stories than other people. This group that I've pushed together, Black Star Polo, I want that to be almost a solution to it. But the solution is very interesting because we have to be aware of the problem.
Right.
We have to be aware that, we lead the race in drowning population, sad to say, because of our lack of access to water bodies, to the pools and the resources, And once again, it's not our fault we have been so denied to be by the pools, because you look at the segregation that existed, you look at how difficult it was for Black people to be in the pool, and you look at just how difficult it is to be in the pool and trying something new when your peers are doing football, basketball, baseball, and you're like, yo, forget this. Let me do what works for me and not try this new thing. So just shedding the lights on the fact that our community, especially Black communities, people of color, Black, brown, communities of color, we have an undeniable source of trauma connected to the water. But that's also a place where we can find the most healing, It's interesting how I picked the name Black Star Polo. It's very funny, the name came to me on Marcus Garvey's birthday, just out of nowhere. But the name is Black Star Polo, correct. We are promoting water polo for a Ghanaian community. But it's such a small part of the equation. Because just the fact of playing this water sport, first you have to learn how to swim. And then you learn the game. And before learning how to swim, you have to learn how to float. Before you learn how to float, you have to learn how to be comfortable in the water.
Right.
Before learning to be comfortable on the water, you may have to remove the anxiety you have associated to water, whether it's a bucket, whether it's the rain, whether it's a storm. There's just so many layers you have to peel back.
Wow.
And then once you finally get to the game, it's like, all right, now you can literally accomplish anything because you're breaking down years of generational issues. So the hard part is not playing the game.
Right.
It's before you even get to the pool. So I like how we've seen a lot of positive feedback.
In what ways do you envision Black Star Polo uplifting undeserved and underprivileged youth? And what impact do you hope to have on their lives?
It just shows there's another way to get out.
Beautiful.
Another way to get out, another way to come back and help your community.
Well said. What role do you see education playing in addressing the lack of diversity and inclusion in water sports? And how does Black Star Polo approach this aspect of its mission?
We want to associate the success of those diverse athletes in aquatics with our inclusion in the sport. By saying, you're not alone if you want to be a water polo player. Look at this Olympian. You're not alone if you want to be a swimmer. Look at this Olympian. You're not alone if you want to be a lifeguard, a scuba diver. Look at these Black figures look at these groups that are a part of it, you know? Just, again, teaching how much you can benefit from being a part of it in the school system, you know, as a lifeguard, as a swim coach, as a teacher, as a, you know, a beach or a pool lifeguard. So I think just the fact that we're showing all the positive images.
In what ways do you hope the introduction of water polo in Ghana can positively impact the local communities and youth?
Encouraging water safety, again, just highlighting what can be done when you take a chance, a calculated risk, what can be done when you commit to something. I think our biggest accomplishment right now, well, in the US, we were working with a group of Somalian refugee families, and this was their first time having a pool experience. So now they're breaking down the trauma of not knowing how to swim for the first time. Now they have a different story than what their parents have.
Exactly.
In Ghana, we're getting invited to go and compete throughout the continent and internationally, globally. So now the story exists for the youth in Ghana, for some select youth, that, wait a second, you mean I got a passport, a visa, an invitation, a cool t-shirt, all because I didn't quit swim lessons?
Wow.
Whoa, man, this might be something serious. So just showing the results and not just showing, hey, you do A, B, and C correctly, you're gonna get rewarded. So, hey, you'll do A and B might be difficult. You have to start from the beginning. Like showing the success and the disappointments, you know? It's just kind of showing them in an incredibly organic way that, you know, the road to success is difficult, but it's a valuable one to be familiar with.
Yeah, and I think your team learned the disappointment part.
Yeah.
When they weren't able to fly out.
Multiple times.
Oh, multiple times?
Yeah, well, multiple, like, you know, a handful of people. Multiple times meaning we faced a disappointment. The biggest ones, the twice, was the Italy.
Exactly.
And then again with Brazil.
Oh.
But two different cases.
Oh.
Italy, everybody was denied.
Okay.
Too many people have gone and ran away. We can't trust you. There's no a water polo team from Ghana. What? Ghanaians don't even like to swim. Denied. There's no tournament. Denied. You're not gonna. What? Denied. What? Where do you guys come from? Across in the denied, man. Denied.
Yeah.
Denied. And then having to explain that
to them
in a way that children can understand. Still, while not sugarcoating the truth,
exactly.
But just doing it in an organic way where we're not lashing out, so they can get a message. But then them feeling that, and then trying again for Brazil, much more successful, much more positive, but still systemic issues disallowed for the kids to get visas because their mothers, again, no death certificates for a deceased father. You know, they didn't have the documents, and we didn't have enough time to get the information needed because of time frame, and also because they didn't know. They didn't know the time of day. They didn't know where the hospital was. They didn't know. So just a lot of, we felt disappointments in our program, in our events, but it's no different than when an athlete wins games and loses games. They now have this feeling. Granted, two different extremes.
Exactly, but at least they're still going through those disappointments and those feelings. Because as a child, I think we kind of have to go through them to understand while growing up that there's such things called disappointments. You
have to, and it's a sad story, but now these kids had the worst day of their life at 10 years old. So you now just imagine who they will grow up to be after having that. That's what's exciting. That's what I think about sometimes.
Good job. Well, I think you answered the next question, which was, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of your work with Black Star Polo, and what keeps you motivated to continue driving positive change through the organization?
Yeah, there are a lot of rewarding moments. You know, I put it on a scale of 99. Like on a scale of 100, I say there's been 99 challenges, difficulties, you know. One, trying to get aquatics in a non-swimming nation, trying to convince kids and families that, no, this will work, trying to convince this new sport, trying to follow the bureaucratic rules, like 99 issues that will make you want to quit and leave. And trust me, man, I've been through all of them. But those 1% moments of when the kid says, I scored a goal, and they know how to feel, or seeing the kid now who's terrified to be in the water, now going on the deep side. Wow. Seeing adults like dip their toe in the water to now going out to the beach with their clothes on and then feeling that freedom, you know, and seeing them score, like just seeing that transformation, you know, that, forget it, that is enough to, you know, really refuel the fire. But the challenges are high, but the reward of seeing the effects of this life-changing initiative, seeing the healing that is happening, seeing, you know, like, hey, wow, I could swim. Like an adult, you have a man, probably in his 50s, like, look at me, I'm in the water. Like a child. It's beautiful. So we hope to do more of those things, and, you know, we just, as rewarding as it is and as challenging as it is, it's great to do these. Like me, I'm very focused. And it's been amazing when more support comes in. Exactly. More people can say, wait a second, this is a good idea. How can I get involved? No, I want to get involved. Here, this is how I'm going to get involved. And man, it's so beautiful. Just restoring the connection.
What are your long-term aspirations for the growth and sustainability of water polo in Ghana? And how do you see this contributing to the broader water sports landscape in Africa? Because I feel like this is your beginning. Yeah,
very much so. That we really just do with this sport, aquatics, what is already being done with many other sports, primarily football. That's not my rival sport, but that's really the one that I study the most, is wanting to create this space. And if it's water polo, so be it. But really using water polo as the vehicle to get into aquatic health and wellness. And not even just sticking to Ghana, but I've also had chances to go to different countries on the continent, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ethiopia, you know, and do that same thing and just say, look at how positive of a change is happening and making in Ghana. It's making in the US. We can do the same thing in different countries, same thing in different areas. And then also just utilizing or giving a path that can allow our people to utilize these resources. Because there are beautiful pools in a lot of African countries. There are very safe water bodies that people can get involved in. And if it's because someone's seeing Black Star Polo as a way to get also into those water bodies, that's a huge goal. Give Africa another platform to shine. Right. Give it another thing to talk about, you know? Yeah, a sport we're just not present in. Oh, and then not even just to come in and for the participation, but to come in and be dominant. Thank you. Forget it. Which we usually do, don't we? Everything. Midas touch. Everything we touch turns to gold. So, you know, yes, I'll take the award, the first All Black, thank you. But all right, boys, get in the pool. 30 goals. You know, that's and not even, it's one, to go back to the question, one very rewarding part was in Brazil. It was my kid from Ghana, one of our athletes. And since the rest of his teammates couldn't show up, we built up the team of different Brazilian kids. So it was a team of Ghana and Brazil. Okay. And then a long-term goal for Black Star Polo is you have 2 kids from Ghana, 2 kids from Ethiopia, 2 kids from Senegal, 2 kids from Kenya, 3 kids from the US. So that it's really this feeding ground, you know, this developmental ground for different people to say, wait a second, I want to follow this Black Star Polo path. So let me ask you a question now that you brought that up, because I know you don't live in Ghana. You live certain parts of the month there, and then you're back there, right? Correct. So now let's say we have an audience that's into swimming, that is very into maybe the water polo thing. Right. So they contact you. Can they come to Ghana and have a residency or wherever it is that you are? How would you be training? How can you, or can you even reach out to other African countries that are interested in the sport? Right. Like an exchange. You have somebody from a different country in the continent. Exactly. Hey, I saw what you're doing in Ghana and I want to come in. Can you help me out? Yeah. Yeah, because a beautiful thing about sport, and in this sport that many athletes can speak on, is when you do the exchanges, you go to different towns and cities to train, you know, families of the sport are very welcoming. They say, hey, don't worry, you can come for 4 days, stay at my house. will cook food for you. You can stay there, and that it creates this connection. Exactly. You know, I mean, just from experience, I was invited to go to Zimbabwe, and my vision is, of course, working on Ghana, but also growing it on a broader scale, and then having an opportunity to go within the continent to do that allows me to realize, wait a second, the families in Ghana can do the same thing. We even have, if you need a hotel, you can stay there. We have facilities that can host people, and even different schools. Like if a student is fresh out of college and they want to be a part of it, you know, we can arrange to stay in the dorms. Yeah. We can set up these different exchanges for people to come in, because that's a big thing that I, you know, really want to implement further as we, you know, continue this thing, to make a certain part of the calendar like, hey, this is your time to come in, stay, just make an impact.
Exactly.
And then that creates this exchange of, you know, a Kenya, a US, somebody coming to Ghana. Wow, I had a great time. And now I'm going to invite you to come to my country. And there's a lot of that, I think, especially with water polo, because we're a really international sport. But a lot of different sports, a lot of people do that. They have these exchange programs. And, you know, I think secretly what I've done is, water polo is great, but you have to be involved with the swimming community first.
Right.
So it's almost like a very mindful gatekeeping, but it's a positive one. Because any kid, I'll say, hey, you want to play with us? You got to know how to swim. You have to. So,
unfortunately.
Find out who your swim coaches are and get connected with them, and then we can, you know, build a bridge.
So are there, now I know South Africa, I think, has even in Olympics, they have swimmers,
correct,
great swimmers. Now, any African countries that you have found that have great swimmers outside of South Africa, I mean?
Okay. I know Egypt is also another one that produces very great aquatic athletes. Okay. With these swimming organizations and federations, really, you have some from each country. Because they do have yearly races and competitions and camps for just swimmers.
Right.
So, of course, South Africa leads the race. They have the best. But you have swimmers from Angola. Of course, you have swimmers from Ghana. You know, I think there's one athlete now in the Philippines training, or in Thailand. And you have athletes from Angola. You have, I think there's maybe 2 from Ethiopia. And matter of fact, there is the first female Ethiopian swimmer. She went to the Olympics. I don't know, man, it may have been 2012. But she has a very compelling story, because you don't think swimming with African countries, regardless of which one you choose. But then to know there is one that is an Olympic swimmer, that's significant.
It is.
Very significant. It blew me away.
Very
significant. What? No, you're not. I was blown away. I thought it was a joke. But you hear the stories. Very cool to connect.
Interesting, yeah.
You know, with swimmers of the continent.
Absolutely.
Because it's so very far between, especially within East and West. Because swimming, you really see more dominant North and South. Egypt, Morocco's, South Africa, Zimbabwe.
So now, none of these have water polo. Does Egypt have water polo?
Egypt does.
Egypt does.
Yeah, they have.
And South Africa does.
Correct.
Okay.
Out of the continent, Egypt and South Africa have qualified for Olympic Games and represented.
I read somewhere that if you don't have more diverse people in the sport, that they're actually going to stop the sport.
Correct.
So how do we do that? I mean, even though you're trying.
I'm trying real hard.
Yes, you are.
You need more help.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Man, I would love some more help.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, how the whole thing started. Was I was speaking to one of my buddies. You know, he's an Olympian, 5-time Olympian from Coronado. And he was telling me that same fact. And this is now coming from, you could call it the horse's mouth, an Olympian telling me the state of this Olympic sport. And well, it makes sense, because you look at the logo, first of all, you have all the different colors of the continent, and which one is in the centerpiece? The black one, which represents Africa. So it's already a very globally uniting event. We're about to have one in a few months this year. It only makes sense that the sports display people from around the world. And if you're having this global event and only the same amount of people are coming back over and over again, where's the diversity in that, you know? It definitely showcases excellence in the field and your athletes, but we want to see more of that across, you know, a broader space. So when he's telling me this, I said, oh man, I'll just go back to Ghana and make my own team and have an all-black team. And that will just represent, because an all-black team is already beautifully vague, because you could be a black American, you could be a black African, you could be from South America, you could be, you know, black where? Where are you from? Just the fact that you're seeing black people doing it. And I think that's what can really benefit a sport. I think everybody wants to see more people participating in your field, you know, and especially more people that you wouldn't believe, you know, like an African continent in an aquatic sport. I mean, you know, people love the story of the Jamaican bobsled team.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah, it's an uphill battle for sure, but it's a worthy one because you put two and two together, you'll see Africans, you'll see Black people, you see communities of color. Maybe should it be COC? Communities of color?
Instead of
people of POC?
POC,
We'll
yeah,
see.
I think so.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
So this is going to be my last question, unfortunately.
Oh, man.
What message would you like to convey to those who may be inspired by your efforts to introduce water polo to Ghana and other underrepresented regions? I think we started on that conversation before the question, but...
Yeah, you're right, we did.
Yeah. But now you can elaborate on what kind of a help that you need. Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want to do it, you have to make sure your intention is pure. You have to make sure it's something you're really passionate about. It's in your heart. It's something genuine. Because if it's not, it will test you and break you and bend you, and you have to really have a passion for what you want to do. And with this particular one with water polo, the message is if you believe in it so much, you believe in yourself so much, you believe in the community you're going to impact, it's going to prevail, period. There's no questions asked about it. If you have that shadow of a doubt, you know, diving in head first, you know, even though we're talking about swimming, something will break. You know, you'll find people that want to support you. You'll find people that want to fund you. You'll find people that want to say, hey, I saw how you would just bring different backpacks on the plane. I want to bring my backpack full of stuff. I want to bring my people, you know, who support this nonprofit to support yours. When you show your persistence and your passion and your purpose, it creates a ripple effect. You know, it's huge, and it's an undeniable one, you know? It's like, man, I don't know what he's doing, but I know he's doing it. Like, I know he's a part of it, and that is inspiring to people. So when you do more, really, as opposed to speak more about it, that's what draws people to come to you. And with what we're doing with the underrepresentation of African Americans, Black people, Africans in the sport, it's showing the power of having a purpose. Because yes, we're getting people involved in water polo, but it's really getting them involved in swimming, getting them involved into a community bigger than themselves, getting them involved into something that's going to positively benefit them, their lives, getting them involved into something that is a life-saving tool, you know? That it's expanding, like you're not just playing this game to have a good time. You're gonna get that regardless. You're playing this to really benefit yourself, to grow, and to be a leader for the next person behind you in your community. It's giving you the tool to be a leader, you know? And those are all things that are so invaluable to teach to the youth, to teach to the underrepresented, to teach to the people that need it, to teach to the people that think they may not have any purpose, any direction in the world. And I think there's no one more deserving of those messages than the youth. That there's a laundry list, there's a huge, endless amount of opportunities for you. And there's nothing too weird. There's nothing too far off left or right. There's something fit for you. You find it, stick to it, be passionate, and people will eventually support you. And that's what we're trying to do here.
Good luck.
Hey, thank you so very much.
Before we close off,
all right, go for it.
Of course, this should have come in the beginning.
Right.
We had this conversation earlier, and you mentioned to me that this is not your first time in Ethiopia.
Correct.
So I would like to know that experience before we close off. You know, when ddid you decide to visit Ethiopia? What pushed you to come to Ethiopia?
Having so much belief in like, no, I'm going to bring the sport to Africa, to East and West Africa. Clear. Going to Ghana when I first started this thing, now I believe 3 years ago. And then also just becoming more aware of my identity, becoming more aware of the continent, becoming more aware of the literature and the legacies and the history. And then learning about Ethiopia and the history here and, you know, just the wealth, the riches, the kingdoms, just everything you get from a country that has not been colonized. And how many countries can say that? Right. So then being in Ghana, like just the day that I land, and then I'm following the post on social media, Merry Christmas Ethiopia. I said, what? Christmas is on December 25th. Because I come from America. That's not true. And then you find out, wow, Ethiopia has
a different
calendar. So then wanting to explore that. So I said, you know what? I'm early enough in my trip. I haven't begun anything. Let me just go and just see it and experience it and get equipped because I'm somebody I like experience. And I came here, First time I was here, I was blown away. It's just the spirituality that exists, the commitment to the spirituality that exists, the commitment to the roots and the culture. You know, I was blown away just walking through the streets. I've walked to Gion Hotel, the pool, and I see people go in front of the church and they stop and they bow and they give their grace and their respects. And then seeing people always bless the food. Just seeing that commitment, you know, to faith was really eye-opening for me, you know? And then again, just being a country that to have not been colonized on the continent, I think is something worthy of bragging about, to say the very least. So I wanted to just, you know, I wanted to understand it. And again, these are places I never learned about Ethiopia, or there was no platform, there was no realm, you know. Learn about Ethiopia when you're in high school. Like, there was no introduction to that. So I said, let me figure this out. And then seeing how there is such a connection between Ghana and Ethiopia, and then the ball starting to roll again on the experience I had in Ghana, and saying, okay, you know, just add water to this program. And then speaking to aquatic people here in sports, saying, hey, this is what I do in Ghana. I think we can do something here in Ethiopia, and then we can even create a bridge to where Team Ghana comes to Ethiopia, and Team Ethiopia can go to Ghana. And now we have that exchange happening. So music, culture, food, people, friendliness, history, you know.
Beautiful.
Just the water.
The water.
Thank you. Wuha.
Wuha, exactly. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is your Pan-African show called AfreeQa, and we thank Prince Asante. Thank you again for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you the best of luck.
All the best. Thank you so much.